Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Whenever someone or a country or an individual makes a threat or warns you of something, of a consequence, think about this. Can that person, that country, that entity, can that entity fulfill the threat? If that country, that individual cannot fulfill the threat, obviously ignore it. But if that entity could fulfill the threat, could live up to the threat, then obviously you assess the situation and then you react. Not necessarily then, it depends on the situation. You wait, you assess, you wait to smack the person, knock him out, instead of just injuring him a little bit here and there. So what happens? When you hear countries, for instance, saying, well, we're going to provide aid to Gaza. And you know Israel and United States of America will not allow that. Because they say you providing aid to Palestinians in Gaza means, that's how they equate it, you provide aid to Hamas. All right? Which it's an idiotic statement unless you have evidence that the aid goes to Hamas and not to Palestinian people. Anyway, now if let's say you have Albania saying we're going to send aid to to Gaza. Israel will say, I dare you. United States will say, psst. UK say, psst. Why? Because they know they can smack Albania, and if Albania really sends that, no, they will just boom humanitarian aid I'm talking about. Not military, humanitarian aid. They will just smack. But when you have China, what are you going to do? Well, China promises to help Gaza Palestinians. So China will help the Palestinians. What do you think the Americans will do? React? Well, they're not going to deal with Albania. They're going to deal with China. We'll see. So China is hitting Al Capone where it hurts Al Capone the most. Al Capone's boss. All right? So that's a problem. This article comes from Russia Today. China promises to help Gaza Palestinians. Beijing said it will send humanitarian aid to the region as the violent escalation between Israel and Hamas continues. So, China said we're going to send humanitarian aid over there. Remember that minister of whatever she was, the Israeli, she was the ambassador, Israeli ambassador to Great Britain. She said there's no humanitarian crisis in Gaza. That's what she said. Now, under what pretext then Beijing will send humanitarian aid to Gaza when the Israelis say there's no humanitarian crisis? We'll see how they will stop China. China is concerned about the consequences of Israel's siege of Gaza and has announced it is sending humanitarian aid to those in need in the region, according to Beijing permanent representative to the United Nations Zhang Jun. Speaking on Monday, after the United Nations Security Council had failed to adopt a Russian proposed resolution on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. You know why? It was defeated because it did not use the name Hamas in it. That's why. So the Russians introduced this resolution, and it was defeated because certain countries, with obvious countries, said you didn't include Hamas in that resolution. That resolution was just supposed to have United Nations send humanitarian aid to Palestinian people, to the Palestinian people living in Gaza, surrounded and controlled by Israel. Understand? And because Russia did not mention Hamas at all, the word Hamas was not in all that resolution, it was defeated. That tells you what the attitude comes from the guys who defeated it. We don't care about these guys. Let them. Well, that tells you indirectly how they really feel about people. The diplomat insisted the countries need to take an objective and fair position in order to avoid large-scale conflict and humanitarian disasters, and should make sure not to cause an even greater blow to regional and international security. And it says here that Zhang also specifically raised the issue of Israel's blockade of Gaza, which has been in place for over a week now, since the last Monday. It was introduced after Hamas militants launched a surprise attack. Israeli authorities have said they will not restore the provision of fuel, water, or electricity and food to Gaza until all hostages captured by the Palestinian militants are released. So that is, there are 2.3 million people in Gaza, and there's 199 hostages. 2.3 starving, 199 being killed by Hamas. 2.3 Palestinians, not Hamas, that potentially will die, versus 199 that potentially could be killed by Hamas. Understand? I hope nobody dies. We all have to, because that's how God decided. Oh no, actually our actions got us into where we are, right? Yeah, okay. Whatever. So anyway, my friends, here it is. Whether water is life, Gaza is out of water, and Gaza is out of life. So this is coming from the Zhang Jun. While the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza is worsening, the Security Council failed to adopt a resolution to help these innocent civilians in need. Regrettable. All right, my friends, here it is. For those 199, they punished 2.3 million people. So you can calculate it, what, at least 100 times. That's 200, about almost 100 times. So one individual here values 100 over there, right? No, 1,000, because you have what? Let's say 200, right? And then you got 2,000, and then you got 2 million. So yeah, it's that's the value, my friends. That's the value for one person here to how many people over there. So it's more than that. Well, anyway, why? Because some people are more important than the other ones, it seems. Yeah, I just want to make sure I got the calculation right, because it did not make it didn't make sense. So I said 2,300,000 divided by 199. I said it's about 11,557 times. Right, so that would be all those guys, how much they would, I would say, how many times, what's the value of a person that was abducted, a prisoner, versus the Palestinians. So remember, 199 were taken prisoner or abducted, and there were 2,300,000 about in Gaza. So you have that, and you have it, and that's what it is, my friends. So it's 11,557 Palestinians per Israeli. Well, that tells you something. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.